This vetting has been there. But in our minds, it was meant to target few communities. Take, for example, I am a Kenyan of Somali origin. I've never been to Somalia. I've been to Somalia once. Okay? This is my country. But the kind of things that we go through in getting IDs.
So help me here, and all of us here. A Kenyan in, say, Garissa or Eldas wants to apply for an ID.
Yes.
What is the process like?
The process is, first of all, there has to be a vetting committee at the village. A vetting committee comprising of the provincial administrator, whoever is the head of the provincial administration, the CID, the NIS, the chief, and then particular vetted elders, okay, who are identified through the system. They take you through. Even after that, the same is again sent to the usual bureaucratic intelligence or security-driven process. You are again vetted. It can take 2 years, it can take 3 years, it can take 5 years for you to get an ID. That has been the process.
Okay.
So the question is, we are past with that secessionist movement. Kenyans have decided to remain Kenyans, to be united. Why is this regulation still in place? Why are people of Northern Kenya still subjected to this? If it's the issue of communities that cut across, you remember, Muda Wari was the Vice President of the Republic of Kenya. His brother, Agri, his real brother was the MP for Samia, Buluge, on the other side of Uganda. You have never had his identity being questioned. There are Maasais who live in Kenya who have their relatives on the other side of Tanzania. There are Luos who live in Kenya, but they have relatives in... Let me finish this. And this is the gist. Who live in Kenya, but who have their relatives in Tanzania, Uganda, Southern Sudan. There are Turkanas who live in Kenya who have their relatives in Southern Sudan and Ethiopia. This particular thing actually was tailor-made. You see, this is a very progressive community. Very progressive community. And the fact that Article 27 was not given effect by the Uhuru regime, by the other regime, and President Ruto has done it right now, is to completely...
Is it possible for non-Kenyans to apply for IDs?
You see, there are two aspects to this. First of all, I am not voting for non-Kenyans to get IDs, because that will be a security breach.
The question I'm asking, is it possible for non-Kenyans to apply for IDs?
How will they apply? Because you have to produce your parents' birth certificate, you have to produce you have to prove that you're a Kenyan citizen. So that doesn't apply. The whole thing actually has been taken out of context.
And how do you prove that? How do you prove you're a Kenyan?
How do you prove you're a Kenyan?
I'm asking.
There must be a history. You have to prove.
You just told me that a non-Kenyan cannot apply for an ID because they have to produce...
The basic documents are your parents' birth certificates. Your own birth certificate.
So who looks at that?
How did you get... The birth certificate has... There's a way you get... When you apply for a birth certificate, there's a process. It's different. How do you determine... For you to get a birth certificate, you must demonstrate that you are Kenyan or one of your parents are Kenyan. And that's what the document that you use. If you have a death certificate, you must also prove that the person who has been issued with that particular death certificate is also a Kenyan. So it is not something that is done completely in the dark.
When you produce those documents, who looks at them?
Who issues those documents? Just like your ID. Is it possible? You are issued with a legitimate government documents. And those are the documents that they use to apply for this. But that is not the issue. And we need to understand this. In practice, this law, actually, this thing should have been done by Uhuru regime, by Mzee Kibaki immediately after the promulgation of the current constitution.
That's all right, Mheshimiwa Keynan. I was just trying to get to understand if looking at those documents is also a layer of vetting and distinguish it from what has been happening in Eldas, for instance.
You see, there are officers. Let me see, there are registration officers. There is a registration officer whose task is to make sure only Kenyan citizens get those documents, isn't it?
Okay, all right.
And that registration officer uses documents. The first stage is, it is done at the locational level. It comes all the way. There are people who go through it. There are people who go through it and ascertain and validate that those documents that one has used to apply for this other document are genuine.
All right.
It's just like your academic papers today. If you were to employ some today, I am sure even this critical institution called Citizen, before they accepted, before they gave you an offer, they must have validated your documents. Your degree from Mo University, your ID, your other documents. That is the way. It's a system.
Okay.
You know. So, but the politics of this, and I want to go on record. We are very proud of what His Excellency the President did
I'll